The following is a Candlepin Stars and Strikes rebroadcast featuring some of our most memorable programs.
And welcome back to Park Place Lanes, everybody. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy, and this is Stars and Strikes Doubles, week 2 of our 4-week series. Last week, if you missed it, a great finish by the team of Bob Mazur and Glenn Leblanc, and it was Glenn Leblanc, really. It was the guy that came up with the big marks when he needed them at the end.
Well, Bob had a big one, too, in the 8th to set him up, and he finished with 3 more marks with a spare on strike in the last box. And even Glenn himself said he was all over the place, and he found the groove when it needed to be. And that last 3 frames, he got a lot of pins to pull out that match.
All right, well, that was last week. Let's set up this week's match for you. First of all, let's meet our bowlers. Our number 5 seeded team, after that dramatic win last week, looking for their 2nd straight victory. From Dover, New Hampshire, Bob Mazur, and his partner from Peterborough, Glenn Leblanc.
Okay, Bob comes in averaging 122, roll-off score at 673, and Glenn is at 127 for an average and 670 for his roll-off score.
Now, keep in mind, it's been a long time, seemingly, since we've had any team win even 2 matches in a row, let alone come all the way from the bottom. It seems to be very, very difficult, especially in the doubles format.
If I was Bob or Glenn, I would say, well, it's time to change this. The odds are in our favor now. No one's done it for so long. So they're looking for 2 in a row, and we've got a team of a veteran, somewhat of a veteran, and a rookie, so it should be interesting.
All right, let's meet our 2nd team, our number 3 seeded team in this series, looking to try and knock off our defending champions Bob Mazur and Glenn Leblanc. First of all, from Concord, New Hampshire, Phil King, and his partner from Lebanon, Maine, Mike Meader.
Okay, and Phil comes in averaging 112. His roll-off score is 688. And Mike comes in averaging 108, and his roll-off score 668.
And, of course, the winning team from this match will move on to our semifinal match next week. The runners-up will receive 4th-place prize money, which will be a total of $200 for the team. And, of course, we've got 3 strings in the men's doubles format coming up to determine our champions. And we've got lots more to tell you about as well here on the program as we get ever closer to the springtime and the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, both shows. So we're going to be back and tell you all about that and start the bowling right after these messages. Don't go away. So last week it was Bob Mazur and Glenn Leblanc with a 379, knocking off Steve Vadney and Brian McKinley with a 366. And now the team of Mazur and LeBlanc tries to make it 2 in a row against the team of Phil King and Mike Meader. Next week, Tim Lipke and Larry Valcourt will be here, as you see. And in 2 weeks, our series championship match, Norm Bork and Ed Emerson come in that number 1 spot. But Glenn LeBlanc, the guy who was the big hero for the team at the end of last week's show, starts off this week and shows a 9-drop. He'll work on the 6-pin.
Yeah, let's be careful with this wood.
Able to negotiate it for the spare. Glenn comes right in on the head pin, filling with an 8.
You can't help but think his finish last week just gave him so much confidence that he's going to be a different bowler this week. And he'd be the first to admit, even both of them, they were just real struggling. They'd have a spurt, they would bowl real well, and they would go blank for a few boxes, no marks, and then come back again. But what a garrison finish. Ooh! Got by the front piece of wood. He was too heavy on the 3-pin, left the 5.
Joe Paglia, our lob line judge, had to go down and check that front piece of wood, but it was in play, and maybe it could have worked if
He just smiled at his partner, Bob, and he said, maybe I should have played that wood. It came off the wall for the 5. Hindsight.
All right, now Mike Meader, our first look here on Stars and Strikes at the youngster from Lebanon, Maine.
Half Worcester right. Moves a 3 and the 9.
Mike does a lot of his bowling at the Bowlerama in Sanford, Maine. Works at Prime Tanning and starts with a 10 bucks.
Pretty good out.
Mike's first appearance here with us on the Winds.
Just was playing shortstop there. Ball came off the ball returning. He fielded without making an error, and now he's ready to go.
Hey, you have to be versatile here.
That's right.
You know? Well, this will be an interesting leave. The 1-7-8-9 with Wood.
He missed the head pin, but if he clips it this time, he's got a shot at making this.
Yes! Oh, yeah! That last piece of wood slides over to take it.
Cleared out the 1-7-8 quickly, and he needs some help on the 9. That should take a little bit of the jitters out. Getting our first mark up there on the board.
This is Bob Mazur. Just missing the head pin. Folks continue to ask, write in and so forth on the status of Peter Flynn. Well, we have some very, very encouraging news. It's been encouraging news quite a lot lately, but perhaps none quite so encouraging as this time, Dan.
That's right. He was one of the participants in the final roll-off for this ladder championship, for this ladder sequence, I should say, and didn't qualify for the show, but he was over 600, and everything seems to be on the mend, so that's great news.
Bob Mazur with the 1, 2, and 10 for a spare. And now Phil King.
He will fill the mark put up by his partner, Mike Meader. Somewhat of a veteran. He's been with us once before. Well, and he starts like his partner did, half Worcester right. Unfortunately, he's on a spare.
Phil was here one time before, and that was back in December of 1987.
Oh,
how about
what a
that?
recovery.
Oh. Half Worcester conversion for the spare.
Got to help his confidence.
Back in December of 87, Phil King came in as the #1 seed and knocked off Pat Pay. And this is his first time since. So he's unbeaten.
It's his unbeaten line, string on the line. 3-5-6 triangle for Phil, trying to make it 3 marks in a row.
No.
Not quite.
Gives the team of King and Meader the lead, at least temporarily. But Glenn Leblanc will be coming up, filling a mark left by his partner here in the 4th. The team of LeBlanc and Mazur with 14 marks a week ago, including a lot of big ones down the stretch. The team put together 82 pins in the second half of that match last week, game 3, to win it.
Takes out the 3-pin.
They had a 45 half to start that third game and then wound up with a 127.
Wow.
And that was enough to hang on for the victory. 65 half this time. 2 marks for each team. And the big left-hander moves over to lane 31, and he's got him dancing. Watch out. The 5-pin remains.
Yeah, the 5, 6, 9, 10, and things started happening, and they're all said and done. He's looking at just the 5-pin, and another ball comes off the ball return there, and he fields it. So we have no errors so far.
There's another show going on with people bowling this way, apparently.
Glad I got a barricade in front of me. I wonder if that took his concentration away a little bit.
Yeah, Glenn missed the single for the spare, has to settle for the 10 bucks.
Now another look at Mike Meader. First time with us. And if you think this is easy, you're wrong.
Right on the head pin that time. And
I forget who I was talking to. It was I don't know who it was, but they said that everything was fine. They were warming up. They felt good and everything. And Doug started talking about the ladder, and Doug pointed the finger at the bowler, and he says, it's like my saliva was shut off. He says, my mouth got dry. My tongue felt it was 3 times the size. I couldn't swallow.
Well, a good spare conversion there by Mike Meader. He's back on the head pin again, and he's got a 9 drop. Skipping the ball a little bit, but he's kept it on target here. Looking for another mark, and he's got it. And that gives his team the lead again. So 3 early marks for Mike Meader in his first 4 boxes.
Bob leaves the ball short, just missing to the right. 1, 7, 9, 10 left.
Oh, yeah.
That time he didn't leave it short, just caught the head pin. And watch the head pin and the ball do some damage.
Tough shot. Very delicate shot, really, because that's not the only way you make that, really, is if you catch the head pin on the side like that.
Right, too full, and you're just going to drive it right straight back. That's interesting. Bob is waiting for a special ball or what? He's got a green and white one, and that one looks like it's brown and white. It's worth the wait. 7, 8 left. Couple pieces of wood, 3 pieces to be exact. He's going to drive it from right to left.
Yes.
No problem there. So they come up with 2 marks.
4 marks for each team now. Phil King working on the mark left by his partner, Mike Meader. Just misses the head pin sliding by, but he gets 7 on the fill.
1, 8, 9, 1, 9, 10, I should say. Piece of wood behind the head pin. I don't know if he clips the head pin whether the wood will be coming to play or not. Oh, wow. Got the 1 and the 10. Just went into the pit just behind the 9 pin.
$10. Keeping them in the lead by 1. We'll take a look at that spare miss, and he just missed it.
Head pin, 10 pin, and just behind the 9.
A 1-pin lead for the team of King and Meader, but Phil is opposite a spare here in the 8th. Comes back up on the head pin, crossing over.
Wow. Looked like he was pretty tight in the 1-2, but leaves himself the cluster of 5, 3, 5, 6, 9, 10 in the right-hand corner with the 7 pin.
Phil works for the state of New Hampshire as a computer operator. Does a lot of his bowling at Aboutwell's Bowling Center in Concord.
I missed that. Where does he do his bowling?
You heard me. Phil lives in Concord with his wife Linda and their 2 children, 9-year-old Matt and 7-year-old Sarah. And it's a 9 box. So whatever Glenn LeBlanc puts on this spare will be the lead. It seems like it's been so difficult lately for bowlers on either program, either in singles or doubles, to string a couple of wins together.
Triangle left, 2, 4, 5 for Glenn. Just the 4 fill on the spare.
9, 116 with a box to come.
The lead swings the other way. Bob Mazur and Glenn LeBlanc now lead by 4 through 8 frames.
And Glenn has a strike as a piece of wood came off the sidewall and took out the 5 and the 8. And we'll get another look at it.
There's the piece of wood coming over and just missed a second piece that probably would have stopped it. But gets the strike in the 10th.
And a chance to fill it with 10. Well, now Now, here's an interesting stat for you. As Glenn gets 20 in the 10th, that's the third time in 2 weeks that Glenn Leblanc has rolled a 10th box to finish a game, and he's hit a strike all 3 times. In fact, he's had strike spare all 3 times in the 10th. $136 for the team.
Not a bad opening game.
Like Meader almost cut that shot over.
111, trailing by only 5 right now, but they're opposite 20 pins in this final frame, as Doug just mentioned.
Oh, but big ball. There's the 4 and the 10 left again, but this time the 4 kicks out.
And just the 10 pin all by itself.
Here's the real test for the youngster, and he's right on that first single pin for a spare.
Pretty good showing for his first time in front of the lights.
4 marks already for Mike Meader. 4 of the 5 for the team. Love to see a big fill here. Oh my. Boy. Oh, he's right on the head pin, and he drives out the 1 and the 5. 123 for the team, 136 for Mazur and LeBlanc. They have the early lead. Don't go away. Four teams have already qualified for the Tri-State Megabucks Doubles Tournament of Champions, which begins here on the Winds April 19th. So mark that date down on your calendar. April 19th is the day that we will begin 2 hours each Sunday of the 2 Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions series. And here are the 4 teams that have already qualified. You see that top score, Gary Carrington and Jack Ray at 448. And the rest of the teams that have already made it, and they are hoping to at least hold their positions, as there are still 2 teams still to be filled. And Phil King is set to get us started here in our second game. His team trailing by 13. Perhaps one of these 2 teams will get all the way up to the top and get into that Tournament of Champions series. Phil King starts with a good-looking first ball. He leaves the 3-6.
Here he has to make a choice. He can see the 2 pins, but the wood is awful inviting too. You don't want to cap the wood, so make up your mind before you throw the ball.
He did, and made it.
A number of times I've been bowling and I've made up my mind, and halfway through my approach I change my mind and usually end up missing the shot.
Five, Phil.
4 horsemen right, plus the 8 pin. 1, 3, 6, 10.
Want to welcome a brand new sponsor to Stars and Strikes Doubles for this series. Our participating sponsor, 1400 Motors in Lowell and in Nashua.
Good out.
1 great name, 2 convenient locations. 1400 Motors, Nashua and Lowell. Ray Souza and the gang. Watching Phil King convert the 4 horsemen for a 10. That brings up Bob Mazur, and he's got the bomb to start the second game.
He's had trouble in that right-hand lane, missing head pin to the right. Not this time, right in the 1-3 pocket. And it's a strike. And looking for the double. That was a carbon copy of that one. Whoa, boy. I was going to say, at least he deserves a 10 pin to go down. Just the 4 pin left. No help. He's going to have to do it on his own this time.
And he does, right squarely on it. Strike spare for Bob Mazur. That's 8 marks for the team already. Mike Meader leaving himself with a spare possibility.
3-6.
Same shot Phil King had, but with no wood.
Got to hurry. He's actually releasing the ball just a little prematurely and is dropping just back of the foul line.
$10.
the same thing. Got to try to carry the ball out over the foul line if you can.
Oh, for a spare, almost, leaving the 6-pin. And a 9. Now Glenn LeBlanc comes up working on a spare, looking for the 3rd mark in a row for the team, and they already lead by 18 plus whatever Glenn drops here. Four, spread eagle. Last week, Glenn and Bob had 2 half Worcesters on marks. Spread eagle this time, but last week they had 2 half Worcesters. One was on a double strike.
That's when I thought they really could have taken charge of the match. And I thought it might have slipped away from them, but they came on the last 3 boxes.
Right back in the pocket, but look at the leave. The 4-10. There is a piece of wood out front.
He's going to have to play it down the left-hand tip of the wood. Hopefully the ball will take the 4-pin and the wood will take the 10. It's right down the center.
So we will approach the halfway mark. Glenn LeBlanc gets a 9, and we will take a break with the team of Mazur and LeBlanc leading by 21. 13 coming in, 8 more in this game. Long way to go, and we'll be back on Stars and Strikes doubles in a minute.
Phil King up on lane 32. Team trailing by 21 halfway through the match, or thereabouts. Just sliding by on the left, 4 horsemen to the right.
Phil was telling both of us, Dan, right before the show began, that he's been struggling a little bit this year.
He really has. That average that he gave us is not indicative of the bowler he is. But I'll go into these mini slumps.
Here's $7 for Phil.
But he's a hard worker. He keeps at it.
He's got 2 marks so far, and he's going to look at the 4 horsemen again. Same shot.
1, 3, 6, 10.
And a 60 through 6 for the team. Bob Mazur, having solved his problem earlier on lane 32, comes up short of the head pin again, but he'll shoot at the 1-2 for a spare.
Not a bad break considering missing the head pin. Not going to miss it this time. Another spare.
Spare in the 5th. Mark number 9 for the team here at the halfway point.
Really starting to extend that lead now too. 21 plus the fill.
Oh, Bob let that one go right through the middle, and that's not what he wanted. So the lead is now 29. And Mike Meader is right through the center, and now all of a sudden it seems that neither Mike or Phil can get anything started. It's funny how this works in doubles. It happens a lot. If one guy gets hot, maybe the next guy will get hot right away. And it can happen the other way too sometimes.
68 through 7. We really need to finish with 2 or 3 marks here. If nothing else, just to build a little confidence going to that third game. Plus the fact you don't want the lead to go much higher. This time a little lighter on the head pin. 1-2 pocket. Leaves himself just a 3 and the 6. Got lots of help in between.
Right on it for a spare. Mike Meader spares in the 8th. That's mark number 7 for his team. All spares. Now the lefty, Glenn LeBlanc, big first ball. Leaves out 9 in a big hurry.
And leaves just that 10 pin. Much easier shot for the left-hander than it would be for the right.
Joe Paglia is going down to have a look at the wood, and he waves it in play. It should not be a factor. And it isn't.
Stood right up at the point of release that time and pulled the ball to the left. To the right, I should say. 3 fill on the spare.
Well, that's the problem he was having often last week. Oh, how about that for a spare? Huh. Seems to have corrected the problem on the second ball.
Leaves just the 5 and the 10. 5 goes, and then finally the 10. 2 marks in a row. 5 spares, or 5 marks in this game for the team of Mazur and LeBlanc. 4 of them spares and 1 strike. And Phil is, wow, right in the pocket, and he leaves 5. Kind of a strange leave.
This is normally the leave you see on the edge of the lane, not in the middle.
Right.
Nine.
92 through 9.
Nice release that time for Phil. Leaves the 2-4. Oh, well, that could have meant a lot for the team, perhaps giving them a little momentum going into game 3, but Phil settles for a 9 box, a 101 and a 224, 2-game total. So Bob Mazur and Glenn LeBlanc, who already have the lead, have a chance to really add to it here. There's 7 more. It's 36 right now. Eight.
And they're already at 249.
And Bob throws a big first ball in the 10th, leaving the 10 pin somehow. That wood is well out in front of the 10 pin.
Have to be careful it doesn't snap away from the 10 pin.
Nope, drives it straight back. Spare in the 10th. 6 marks in each game for the team of Mazur and LeBlanc. They've got a pretty good triple going here. A 136 opening game. It's 124 with a ball to roll here in the second. And Bob pulls it a little bit to the left, a 3 count, a 127, and a 2-string total 263. So the team of Mazur and LeBlanc, 262 rather. The team of Mazur and LeBlanc in the lead, and we will be back with game 3 in a minute. Glenn LeBlanc will start it off here in game 3, and that lead that you see is correct. It is 39 pins. There was a computer scoring error in the in the 8th box of
Thank
that
you.
first
Thank you,
game.
Doug.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that sounds better than saying there was a Dan Murphy error. There was a 7 fill on the spare in the 8th for the team of Mazur and Leblanc. It was reading 6 on the computer, so it was a 127 middle game for Mazur and Leblanc. So 263 was, in fact, the total. You tried to talk me out of it, but I should have stuck to my guns. So it's a 39-pin lead for Glenn and Bob after one game. And Glenn LeBlanc starts with a 10. And interesting, Sean Grandy, who's doing the big scoreboard here for us at Park Place, is somewhat of a statistics maven. And he keeps rather elaborate stats while he's doing the scoreboard.
That's an interesting one, though.
Passed us a note during the break that through the first 2 games, one of the things that he keeps is the number of pins that drop on the first ball. That was a heck of a try by Glenn. The number of pins dropped on the first ball in each box. And through the first 2 games, the team of Mazur and LeBlanc are averaging 7.3 pins on the first ball. The team of King and Meader are averaging 5.9. And that's a significant difference. Half Worcester for Mike Meader.
They've had a few of those.
And there's another one.
Full Worcester. What do you do? Oh, you got to shoot for the head pin. Hopefully you can get 4 or 5.
Watch out. Oh, somehow he got the 5 pin without hitting the head pin.
and the 6-10. 4-7, I should say.
That's how much of an angle Mike's ball comes in at. He was able to get the 5 without getting the head pin.
I thought when you told me that Sean does all these stats, I thought you were going to tell me that one team goes to the water bucket 3 more times.
Oh, he's probably got that too over there. He's probably got that too.
Right in the pocket, but just a disappointing 6 drop. 5, 8, 9, 10 for Bob Mazur. Going to try to be on the 5-8 side. Oh, he's flush on the 5 pin.
Sean is kind of like our version of, I believe the gentleman's name is Chuck Wasilewski, the guy out in Millers Falls, Mass, who charts every pitch of every Red Sox game and comes up with all of these obscure stats. And Sean does that for us when he's here. Bob, a little thin. The winner of this match, the winning team, comes back next week to face Tim Lipke and Larry Valcourt. They're our second-seeded team in this group. And then 2 weeks from today, Norm Bork and Ed Emerson will team up in the number 1 spot to try and defend it against whichever team is left. Next Sunday at noon on Stars and Strikes, we'll move into semifinal week, of course, and it will be Gary Carrington looking for his 2nd straight win. Steve Vadney, who was just eliminated here last week on the doubles show, is the number 2 seed in singles in this series, so he'll try and stop Gary's 1-match winning streak as they will square off next Sunday at 12 noon here on the Winds.
1, 3, 7, and 10 is looking at Phil. And there goes the 1 and the 3. He should pick this up for a 10. So neither team has a mark so far in the 2nd game. But right now it's all Mazur and LeBlanc so far anyways at 41 pin advantage through 3 frames of the final game.
And Phil is off target to the left. trying to make something good happen for the team. And they've actually had an opening here in the first 4 boxes of this third game, but they have been unable to put anything up on the board. We will take a break and come back. Mazur and Leblanc in command, at least for now, on Stars and Strikes doubles. This is box 5 of game 3. 6 boxes to go in the match. The team of Glenn Leblanc and Bob Mazur with a commanding lead. And how about that? There you go. 7, 8, 9, 10.
Go right at the 9 pin. See if you can clip the 9 and the wood at the same time and snap the other piece. Let's see. Not too far right.
You don't see that leave very often. You see 3 of them maybe from time to time, but very rarely all 4 in the back row. It's a 9 box for Glenn. And this time he gets a little better mix, but not much better relief.
Oh, the 1 and the 9.
Yes.
Nice spare. Just flush on the head pin. Watch him drive the head pin and the ball straight back. Head pin takes out the 9 pin.
Marked 13 for the team. But for Mike Meader and Phil King, after a promising beginning to this match, actually, the marks have been tough to come by. They had 4 marks in the first 6 boxes. Three, 5, 9.
And a real tough angle on the wood next to the 3 pin. Looking right at him. Good looking shot, though. Very difficult spare. Right on top of the wood, just turned it and drove it straight back into the 3 pins. Now Bob Mazur will fill his spare for his team with just 4.
Again, coming up a little short on the right on lane 32.
Looked like an overcorrection there. And went left. 1-7-10 left for Bob. They're kind of just sitting on the lead right now.
Oh, there's a nice 10 box. Some places they might give you money for making a shot like that, but here it's just a 10 box.
That's right. We need something a little more difficult. Whoops.
That might have been an overcorrection as well. Eight. Now, in spite of the fact that Bob and Glenn haven't been able to get anything going in this game, they're still comfortably ahead. Looks like Phil's unbeaten career record is in a little jeopardy here.
Certainly is. Move back to 500 unless it's a minor miracle. Still got time. You got 4 boxes. You have to have spares just like this with 9 fills. You probably try to get by the wood on the right. Clip the second piece. That's it. Off the wood into the 10 pin. 2 marks in a row.
Well, 9 marks for the team, all spares, and they need some strikes right now. Preferably in bunches.
Here's a new one, mix and chew. Heard that from the crowd in the back. Mix and chew.
It did neither, and neither did that one. And Phil will take a 7, ending his efforts for the day. They have taken 5 pins off the lead, but at 34, the advantage, Glenn LeBlanc could close it out right here with a mark. And he throws a 9 drop, leaving the 5 pin. He also knocked the head pin over on lane 31.
It's a powerful ball.
Spare it is for Glenn LeBlanc. Glenn will have to reset over on 31 before firing. That's mark number 14 for the team of Mazur and LeBlanc, matching the 14 they had last week. They could have a better triple here than they had last week, depending on what Glenn does in these final 2. He's right on the head pin again. Hey, there it is. 4 times now in the 10th box. First and third games last week and this week, Glenn has thrown strikes. Now he's put spares on the previous 3.
I was going to say, do I push the spare button now? Or?
No, I'd wait. People would say that we jinxed him. That is amazing. Well, you're going to have to show us a bit of a shot here. No. It'll be a 7, Phil, and a 115 and a 378. 1 pin under what they had last week. But that will be enough to win this match. Now, if things go according to what often happens, Mike will probably throw a strike or maybe a double strike in the 10th. That's what usually happens. You struggle all day, and although Mike had it going earlier, at least converting some spares earlier, but the team could never just get the marks in bunches that they needed. Nope, it won't be. It'll be a half Worcester in the 10th. And I'm sure Phil and Mike are just pretty happy that this one's over. Been a tough day. A 9 box for Mike, a 101, and a 325 for the team of King and Meader. So a 2nd win in a row for Bob Mazur and Glenn LeBlanc. Handshakes all around. We'll be back to talk to the bowlers and set you up for next week, semifinal week on Stars and Strikes, in a minute. And welcome back to Stars and Strikes Doubles. We'll bring Dan Murphy here in just a second, and we'll talk about next week's semifinal matchups for both singles and doubles to get you ready for next Sunday at 12 noon here on the Winds. But first of all, let's award some checks to our runners-up, Mike Meader and Phil King. Come on up. We have $100 checks for both of you, and our congratulations. I know it was kind of a tough day for both of you. Slide right on in here, Mike, so we can get you on camera. And Phil, we do have the checks for you here, and 4th place prize money. I know not what you wanted, but for you, Mike, first time here is, I know, always the toughest. So at least now this is out of the way, and you can just try and come back and visit us again.
Yep, I hope so.
Phil, it was just kind of a match where neither one of you was able to get anything started, really.
You got to hit the head pin, and we didn't, and that's what counts.
Well, also, these 2 guys that you were bowling against have been bowling pretty well for the last couple of weeks, so they put together another good score on you. Again, congratulations for getting this far, and we hope to see you both again real soon.
Thanks.
All right, Mike Meader and Phil King. And now keep the applause going for Glenn LeBlanc and Bob Mazur, who've made it 2 wins in a row, a 379 last week, and this time a 378. Now, first of all, though, I want to know about this 10th box thing. You've bowled four times in the 10th box here in 2 weeks, and you've had a strike all 4 times.
Just lucky. I hit the head pin and they just seem to go. I'll take them, though. I'll take them.
But
you need them.
But if you're going to get them in the 10th, in the 10th is a good spot to get them.
Yes, especially if you definitely need them.
Yeah.
We were lucky. We were pretty lucky today. The other team couldn't get on track, and as for Bob and myself, it wasn't pretty, but it's enough.
Seems like you guys are kind of splitting the duty a little bit, both getting your share of marks.
Yeah, we trying to complement each other, but basically the last string was all Glenn. I just was throwing a horrible ball, and they better get back on beam for the next match because we're going to need it.
Yeah, we've got a couple of pretty tough guys coming in next week. Tim Lipke and Larry Valcourt are number 2 seeded teams, so we'll be looking forward to it.
Hope we give them a good fight.
All right, we'll see you guys then. Glenn Leblanc and Bob Mazur, thanks very much. Congratulations on 2 wins in a row. And we'll get back to the ladder here and set you all up for next week now. We've got 2 big semifinal matches coming up beginning next Sunday at 12 noon. First of all, in singles competition, we will have Gary Carrington against Steve Vadnais, as Gary Carrington, off his win today over Reggie DeLime, will look for 2 wins in a row. And then here on doubles at 1 o'clock next week, we'll have our semifinal match with our number 5 seeded team. 2 wins in a row, Dan. Bob Mazur and Glenn LeBlanc moving up to try and knock off that number 2 seeded team.
Now they're going to forget about those 2 and try to make it 1 in a row. Start the streak again. But they bowl well, and they're going to have to bowl equally as well next week because that's a tough team coming in.
And, of course, the winners on both shows next week will move into the championship matches the following week here on Stars and Strikes. And then we've just got 1 series remaining, 1 regular series remaining on each show before we move into the Tournament of Champions. Again, that date you want to mark down is Sunday, April the 19th. That is the day that the Tournament of Champions will begin at both noon and 1 o'clock. The singles and doubles Tournament of Champions will begin both on April 19th. Well, until next Sunday, when we'll move into semifinal week, we hope you'll join us then. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole TV50 Sports crew, Doug Brown, bye-bye from Park Place Lanes.